Hey everybody, welcome to In the Red Zone. Sean Brown, Michael Johnson here. We're back for our bowl picks. Everything except the semifinals. We're not picking that today. We're going to pick everything else to get through the year. We'll come back with another video for the semifinals. So since the last time we were here, which was to pick the conference championship games, a whole lot has changed. Yeah. There's too much to really even go over it all. Coaching changes galore. Cristobal to Miami, Brent Venables at OU,
Dan Lanning to
Oregon. I mean, it's just been I forget his name, Marcus Freeman, the head coach at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley. We talked about that.
To LSU.
Brian Kelly to LSU.
It's been crazy. I don't remember a year where it's been this crazy as far as just everything. Because of course, one thing opens up. And then this coach gets poached from that team, and then they have an opening, and then they go grab a coach for. It's just, I mean, it's insane, and we sit here and act like the players shouldn't move around when it's like the adults are literally doing the same thing. So, it's just crazy.
And then on top of all the coaches, you have the opt-outs for all the games.
Yep.
I mean, really, unless you're in the semifinals. These players who are going to the NFL have opted out. Coach Stoops, Bob Stoops, is coaching the OU team for the bowl game. He had he had some harsh words about that. You know, he's not a fan of that, and I'm not either. But you know what? That was when they went from the BCS National Championship to a playoff. This is exactly why the presidents fought against a playoff system for the longest time, because they didn't want these bowl games to become irrelevant, and they are. And so you got all these opt-outs, and so basically. In full disclosure, we're going to pick these games. Who knows? I mean, it's just like last year. I mean, this is a total crapshoot. I would not put any money on any games except for the semifinals. Yeah. Because that's the only games where you've got all the players, they're playing hard, they're playing for something. The rest of these bowl games, completely insignificant. Yeah. It's all about preparing for next year. You know, Bob Stoops coaching the OU team when Venables is, out recruiting, getting his staff ready, things like that. I mean, so...
Well, and you've got... So, just because we're in Oklahoma, in case you're new, so some of the guys that are going to Lincoln Riley's staff are coming back to coach Oklahoma in the bowl game.
They should go.
So
like that.
Brian Odom is coming. He's going to call the defensive plays for Oklahoma, and Cale Gundy didn't leave, but he's going to be calling the offensive plays for Oklahoma, and that'll be interesting because these are two guys who. For years, people have said they need their shot at either being an OC, DC, and this could be kind of their tryout of sorts,
Sure.
And that's happening all over the country. I mean, coaches go get hired on somewhere, and then they feel an allegiance to that program that they just left, so they want to go back and coach that game that they're going to be in. And I'm sure, there's plenty of opportunity or other situations where that's happening across the country.
Right. It's so basically bowl games have become a preseason game for next year, essentially. It's almost what they've become.
Yeah.
So,
and we gave Florida crap for Dan Mullen coming out last year and saying, well, this is basically our practice squad, which it's happening all over the place, but the winning team doesn't want to hear excuses at that point.
One other quick little note, Disney is in a dispute with YouTube TV over retransmission fees. So all the ESPN and Disney networks and ABC are off of YouTube TV, which I have YouTube TV, and I'm like, I can't watch anything right now unless I go to a bar or someone else's house. So going to be dropping YouTube TV because I can't go without watching football.
It's getting insane. I mean, do they not make enough money? Like it's just, and with releasing Spider-Man just now, they're getting a cut of that. Like
so. That's the latest of what's going on. So you want to get to this? We're going to pick all these.
We're doing this kind of a week late. We just kind of last week. I guess we're just busy.
Way
with
too much going on.
Holidays, snuck up on us and stuff. So we're gonna start with the bowl games on December 20th. We're not doing obviously the ones this weekend, and then Army Navy. We normally do just a separate video for that one. But I don't know. It was a good game, a good competitive game this year, but we just didn't have the time really to do it. So,
hey, before we get started with the picks, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Like the video, leave your comment. Love to see your comments.
Yeah, hit a man. I've run out of bullet strike on that.
Okay,
on the
strike the subscribe button. Yeah. All right, let's get started. Let's get through these again. Just some of these games, and I'll disclose it with each one. I didn't really research. I mean, we're just making picks to make picks.
Stats are out the window. Yeah. I mean, unless you've got a super young team that nobody is really eligible for, or this team is playing in a major bowl game, the stats really, you can't really look at them. And they're some of the lower ranked teams or mid majors, if you want to call them that. They're not going to have as many opt-outs because not as many players are going to the draft.
Yeah.
It's these kids' last chance to play a game.
I'm basing my picks, especially these, not the FBS, the FCS, not Group of 5 schools. These Group of 5 teams, like you said, that don't have as many opt-outs and stuff. I'm really basing my picks on having watched them this year, what I think of them. I'm not breaking down a whole bunch of stats and stuff. And some of you who are fans of these teams probably know, hey, this player's out, this player's not. I haven't kept up with a lot of these. So this is for entertainment purposes, so that's it. We're just having fun with this. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Monday, December 20th, Old Dominion against Tulsa in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Both teams 6-6. Tulsa is a 9-point favorite. I like Tulsa's defense. Their offense has turned the ball over a lot this year. It just seems like their offense just can't get out of the way. But they do play tremendous defense. I just think that 9 points is way too high on this one. I like Old Dominion to cover 9 points.
Yeah, both teams are giving up right around 27.5 points. There's only a tenth of a difference in how much their defenses are giving up per game. Old Dominion's scoring more, over 2 points more per game that they're scoring. And then if you look at yardage, they're really not that different. Tulsa is able to move the ball more, but not scoring as much. And then their defenses are both giving up 372 and then 379. So it's kind of a wash on the stats when you look at averages. Guys that stick out. Tulsa's quarterback Davis Brin has thrown for he will have thrown for 3,000 yards in this game. 16 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. So that's probably where you see them able to move the ball, but just not able to score. If they can minimize those mistakes, they can come out with a win, but I don't think they cover the spread. 9 points is just a little too much.
All right, next one, Tuesday, December 21st. Kent State against Wyoming. Kent State 7-6, Wyoming 6-6. The famous Idaho Bowl, Potato Bowl. Wyoming is a 3-point favorite. The thing that sticks out to me when I think about this game is how Kent State lost to Northern Illinois in the MAC championship game despite being a favorite.
Yeah.
And I thought really they had the better team, but they lost. Wyoming earlier this year, we had some people in the comments. It was either Boise State or Utah State. It was one of those games where I picked Wyoming. I really thought Wyoming was the better team. They won, but it was an upset.
Yeah.
And to me, I didn't think it was an upset. I think Wyoming's the better physical team. I think the Mountain West Conference is a better conference than the MAC. And just because of that, Wyoming a 3-point favorite, I think that's fine. If it went 3.5 or 4, I'd probably lean towards Kent State. But at 3, I'll still take Wyoming to cover 3.
In their last 5, Wyoming is 2-3. They have lost one. So they're kind of on.
They're due to win again.
They're due to win. Granted, it will have been a few weeks since they played, but Kent State they are 3-2 in their last 5, and one of those games was against Miami of Ohio in an overtime game where they won 48-47. They did. They trounced Akron 38-0, but bowl games, this being different, Kent State's giving up more points than they're scoring. To me, that's kind of a sign for me.
Yeah.
And Wyoming is a good, tough team. I mean, I picked against them this year at one point, and I was wrong. So I'm going to take Wyoming to cover 3. One
more on December 21st. UTSA 12-1 against San Diego State, who's 11-2. This is the Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl. Say that one.
It's a crazy name and crazy bowl, but this is going to be a really good game.
Yep. This was 6:30 ESPN, and UTSA is a 2-point favorite. I believe the last time I picked against UTSA was right after that one loss, and then they came out and won. And so, San Diego State with the only 2 losses, but really, I mean, it's UTSA's year. It really is. 12-1. I think they moved to 13-1. I like UTSA to cover the 2 points.
Yeah, kind of crazy that a 12-1 team is not ranked here. I think wasn't.
They're not ranked. Yeah.
San Diego State is ranked.
Yeah, 24th.
But one player to look out for, and he's a junior, so I haven't seen if there's any opt-outs here, but Sincere McCormick, 5'9", 205 pounds. Has rushed for 1,479 yards. Last year he rushed for 1,467 in the shortened COVID year. But against non-conference opponents, he's rushed for 436 yards. I would say look out for him. UTSA is likely going to have a 1,000-yard receiver if junior Zachary Franklin plays in the game. He's sitting at 938 yards. So they just kind of have the better skilled position players, I think, that kind of stand out more on paper. So I'm taking UTSA.
Okay. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. All right, let's move on to the next game, Wednesday, December 22nd, Missouri and Army, Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Army is a 4-point favorite. You don't have to worry about opt-outs at the military academies.
Yeah.
They're going to be there, and they're going to play.
Yeah.
I don't really know what Missouri's got as far as opt-outs. They probably have a few. I think all the Power 5 schools probably have 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But what I do know is Army, it was shocking that they lost to Navy. Although it's a rivalry game, they know each other. Things are different in a rivalry game; they just are. But prior to that, Army against Wake Forest scored a lot of points. Army was scoring, and I just feel like they get back to their winning ways. They get back to that scoring against Missouri. It's an offense that Missouri is not used to. These are preseason scrimmages essentially.
Yeah.
I really think Army comes out with the win here, and I think they easily cover 4.
So they're favored by 4?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take Army -4. Missouri lost to Arkansas 34-17. They lost to Georgia 43-6. I think Army's definitely going to want to kind of get that bad taste out of their mouths.
Absolutely.
They're a very disciplined team. They're scoring 33.6 points per game and only giving up 22.3. Missouri is scoring 29.7 and giving up 34.7.
Yeah.
Usually that is not necessarily flipped, but you don't typically. Well, I shouldn't say don't typically. Missouri has had good defenses in the past, but they're giving up 229 rushing yards per game against this option team of Army. And I don't mean to really say that Army's the boogeyman,
right.
in all of college football, but I mean they kind of are. Like they have that ability to just be able to hang with teams that you would think should blow them out, but it's just ball control. It's when you look at the stats after the game, they've got the ball for 60% of the time,
right?
And then they're just able to blow the clock. And I kind of see this being a low scoring game, but one that Army comes out with the win and covers that.
Okay, Thursday, December 23rd, North Texas against Miami of Ohio, the Frisco Football Classic presented by Ryan. Okay, Miami of Ohio is a 3-point favorite. The last few times I saw North Texas, they looked really good. I haven't really seen a whole lot of Miami of Ohio. Just going off this, both teams are 6-6. I don't know why, but I feel like I like North Texas in this game as an underdog. So I'll take North Texas in the points.
So, Blaine Gabbert's brother, Brett Gabbert, is the quarterback for Miami of Ohio.
Okay.
It says here that he won MAC Freshman of the Year in 2020, threw for, hold on. I think I read a little. 2019 MAC Freshman of the Year. And then played in and started 2 games in 2020, threw for 384 yards, and had his first 300-yard game in 2020. He's a sophomore. I don't know. This one's kind of tough for me because UNT, both teams are 6-6. I mean, they're both kind of that mid-level of their respective conferences. I'm just going to take the who I think is the better of the quarterbacks and take Miami.
Okay. UCF and Florida. UCF's 8-4, Florida 6-6. The Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Florida is a 6.5-point favorite. Florida is not the same Florida when Dan Mullen was there. I think they've gotten past that.
Yeah.
I think this is their what do we got going into next year kind of deal.
Right.
So UCF, on the other hand, a school where I don't think they're going to have any opt-outs. I think they'll be at full strength. They're not. They didn't have a coaching change as far as I know. I hadn't heard anything. I just think UCF is the better team in this game. You had the Florida. I mean, I said that they're different than when Dan Mullen was there, but it's still the same players who almost lost to Samford.
Well, Emory Jones has jumped into the transfer portal.
Okay.
So he will not be the future that they thought he was going to be at the beginning of the year.
Next up.
And in their bowl game last year.
He didn't play that well this year anyway.
Yeah.
I like UCF. They're the underdog. Give me UCF. 6.5, that's too much for me. And this is a chance for UCF. They had that undefeated year. They claimed themselves national champions. But, when it comes to football in Florida, you got Florida State, Miami. I mean, they are the little step kid who want some respect. Well, the best way to get respect is to beat Florida. This is your chance. And I think those guys come out ready to play. They want to prove something, and I like UCF.
And Florida, every year they get talented kids to come to their university. So they're going to have, I guarantee they'll have opt-outs. They'll have kids that want to go get ready for the NFL draft or transfer. Mm-hmm. Florida's not the same team that it was in the mid or 2008, 2010, Mm-hmm. So I'll take UCF. I'll keep it interesting.
Christmas Eve, Memphis and Hawai'i in the Easy Post Hawai'i Bowl. Memphis is 6-6, Hawai'i 6-7. Memphis, a 7-point favorite. To be honest with you, I've watched some Memphis this year. They were kind of disappointing compared to what is expected with that program. Mm-hmm. It was a disappointing season for them. Hawai'i, probably just happy to be in a bowl game. It's a home game for them, so no traveling. But, it's going to be a week of life of luxury for Memphis. Those guys are going to go to the beach. And that's the other thing. There's so many distractions during these bowls. I mean, all these things these kids do and everything. And I'm a little bit on the fence with this one. I am going to take Hawai'i because they're the underdog. I think 7's too much. Hawai'i has that potential to be explosive. I will say, though, Memphis playing in the American Conference, it's a much tougher conference than what Hawai'i plays
in. And Memphis is, they were one of the teams I thought the Power 5 would swoop in and get.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're in prime territory, SEC territory. They've got a nice-looking stadium. They're usually really a decent football team. They've gotten some really good wins over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And they've had the ability to be pretty stout. With this one, Hawaii's given up 2 more points than they're scoring. Memphis is scoring more than they're giving up but only by 1 point. And both, just their defenses are giving up a ton of yards. But I will take Memphis in this.
Okay, I figured you were going to.
I'm going to take Memphis.
All right, the only game on Christmas Day, Georgia State 7-5 against Ball State 6-6, the Tax Act Camellia Bowl, and Georgia State is a 5-point favorite. And I don't really know anything about either one of these teams. So because of that, and I'm just making a pick to make a pick, I would put no money on this game, but give me the underdog. I'll take Ball State because they're the underdog.
Well, Ball State has lost 3 out of their last 5. and Georgia State is on a 3-game winning streak. They lost to the Ragin' Cajuns, who we thought were going to be pretty good this year.
They're really good. They only had one loss this year.
Yeah. And Georgia State, let's see, I thought they were one of those teams that they hung with Auburn, so they only lost by 10 to Auburn. App State kind of demolished them. And then they beat Coastal Carolina, Arkansas State, and Troy, which Brandon Hall from Troy just came over to Oklahoma staff.
Okay.
But for the sake of picking a team, I will take Georgia State.
Okay.
We're going to go
against each other
head-to-head on a few of these.
Okay. Let's take another break, and we'll be back. We'll be back right after this.
That was a really good break. That was a good break.
All right, we're back. Monday, December 27th. Western Michigan against Nevada in the Quick Lane Bowl. Western Michigan 7-5, Nevada 8-4, and Western Michigan is a 6-point favorite. I like Nevada because they're the underdogs. Sitting at 8-4.
So Carson Strong, I believe he has declared for the draft.
Okay.
And he left school early, so he's not going to be there with them. Give me Western Michigan.
Okay. We'll just go opposite again.
Yeah.
Boston College, East Carolina. Boston College 6-6, East Carolina 7-5. Military Bowl presented by Peraton. I guess it's right. Boston College is a 3-point favorite, and I think Boston College covers that 3. I think Boston College is a pretty decent team in the ACC. East Carolina has always been able kind of to hang with some teams here and there in the American Conference, but I just think Boston College really better players, better recruiting.
Yeah, Eastern Carolina won 3 in a row against Tulane. And then Charleston Southern, which, I mean, not really anything to hang your hat on, but they did beat Navy 38-35, and then they lost to Cincinnati. So, they've won, let's see, they've won 4 out of their last 5. They beat Memphis. They beat Temple, USF. I mean, but any team that they've gone up against that's been pretty tough, they've seemed to get the L there. I mean, they lost to App State, South Carolina. They beat Marshall, Tulane, which everybody's beaten Tulane this year. And then they lost to UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati this year. So this is, man, it's a rough one because Boston College, I don't know too much about them this year. They got beat by Florida State and Wake Forest. They did beat Virginia Tech, but they got beat by Syracuse. They got beat by Louisville. They got beat by NC State. They got beat by Clemson. I'm wondering how they even made a bowl game here. I guess just winning out your non-con and then getting a couple more wins there.
So you like East Carolina?
I'm going to take East Carolina, yeah.
Okay. Tuesday, December 28th, Houston and Auburn in the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. Auburn 2.5-point favorite. I like Houston to win outright. I'll take Houston in the points. Auburn, Bo Nix in the transfer portal. He's not there. That guy that I can't remember his name, the backup quarterback, I have not been impressed with him at all. I know earlier in the year when Nix wasn't playing well, all the Auburn fans were calling for him to play. He finally got in and did play when Bo Nix got hurt. And boy, he was worse. He was worse. Is it TJ? Man, I should know his name. I apologize to Auburn fans for that.
Did he play against Alabama?
Yes. I cannot remember his name. It doesn't matter. I think Houston. Finley.
TJ
yeah.
Finley.
I just think Houston's a better team. I just think they're absolutely a better team. They won't score as much on Auburn as they have scored all year in the American Conference, but they score enough, and I think Auburn's going to have... Now, Houston's defense has not been very good this year. It's not
Auburn's
been very
defense has been pretty good.
But I just think this is one of those where I like the American Conference team over an SEC team in this one. So I'll take Houston.
Yeah, that TJ Finley is a sophomore. He's 6'7", and 246 pounds. So he probably should be playing basketball. I mean, that dude is huge. Definitely going to be hard to bring him down. but doesn't look like he was able to. He rushed for negative 42. I mean, that's getting sacked by Alabama, of course. And then they get beat by South Carolina. He played in that game 17 of 32, 188 yards, 1 touchdown, and rushed the ball 6 times for 7 yards. I'd be using his legs. I mean, that 6'7" guy, you don't have to be an amazing runner to be able to gain positive yards if that's worked into your system there. Which Auburn, I don't know, maybe their coaches just, I don't know much about their offensive system, but maybe they just don't like to run the quarterback very much.
I got a feeling you're taking Auburn.
Don't kill me if Bo Nix, had good rushing statistics this year. I didn't really follow them a whole lot this year, as much as I have in years past. But I am going to take Houston.
Okay. Air Force Louisville in this Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. Louisville 1.5-point favorite. Air Force 9-3, Louisville 6-6. I like Air Force to outright win the game, so them being an underdog is an easy pick for me.
Yeah, Malik Cunningham was kind of the talk of Louisville this year. And
again, a military bowl or a military academy who's not going to have opt-outs. They're full strength, barring any injuries. But I just think I would give them the edge here.
Yeah, I do want to see if he's returning to Louisville, so likely to play in that game. And man, he's good. He's really, really good. He'll be the best player on the field. I'll take Louisville.
Okay. Mississippi State against Texas Tech in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Mississippi State is an 8.5-point favorite. And Mississippi State 7-5, Texas Tech 6-6. Mississippi State clearly just the better team.
Yeah.
I will take Mississippi State to even cover the 8.5. It's a big spread for this game, but I would not take Texas Tech.
Yeah, Texas Tech getting a new coach this year. There's more coaching continuity on Mississippi State. I think it's a good matchup. It's fun to be able to see Texas Tech's former coach go and coach against them now.
It'd be more fun if it was in Lubbock, but
yeah. I mean, there's no end of things that they would throw down at that Mississippi State sideline. But I will take Mississippi State.
Okay, UCLA against NC State in the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. These names are getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean ridiculous. And NC State is a 1-point favorite. Holiday Bowl, that is in San Diego. That is UCLA territory. NC State has to travel across the country. Probably aren't going to have a lot of fans travel for that game. Yeah. It's going to be mainly a home game for UCLA. These teams are very evenly matched. That's why NC State's a 1-point favorite. I'll take UCLA.
Yeah, man, there were kind of some rumblings about Chip Kelly maybe going back to Oregon before they hired Dan Lanning. So last week. And it's just kind of funny and fun to kind of kick the tires on that one.
Yeah.
But UCLA definitely a lot better this year in Dorian Thompson-Robinson's last year. So unless he decides to come back.
Yeah.
But NC State has a really good quarterback in Devin Leary, and he is a sophomore. He's thrown for 3,433 yards. I'm not sure where that ranks, but he's got 35 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So just playing really good. You'd like to see his completion percentage be a little bit higher. He's at 65.7, but before this year he was at 60% as his best year. So. Man, this one's another really good. That's one thing about this year is I think they got a lot of really good matchups.
Mm-hmm.
There will be some that are really random, but I think they matched up the teams fairly closely, as close as they could this year. But I will take NC State in this. I know it's where's the game being played?
San Diego.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with NC State.
Next one, West Virginia, Minnesota. West Virginia 6-6, Minnesota 8-4. Minnesota's a 4-point favorite. This is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, and it is a guaranteed victory for Minnesota, in my opinion. So I will take Minnesota to cover the 4.
Yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota as well.
Yeah.
I just think
West Virginia really fell apart midway through the season and it's really struggled there at the end. They played what, Oklahoma close, and then after that it was just that's it for them.
Yeah, they had a really good defensive front. Their defensive line was really good, and it's been good for since what's his name, Holgerson was there.
Yeah.
That's one thing they've been able to do is just get pretty good defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Maybe not these 4- and 5-star guys out of high school, but they're guys that just come in and they go to work. And then over the past, they've had good corners and DBs, but I wouldn't say this year has been the case in that department. But, yeah.
You like Minnesota?
I'm going to take Minnesota. Okay. I just think they're the more complete team. Tanner Morgan, I haven't seen anything on him, so if you know anything, just let us know down in the comments. If you're I try to look at each one of these. He's just decided to come back. It looks like 2 days ago he decides to come back.
Okay.
So,
let's move on to Wednesday, December 29th. We're inching closer, getting closer to those New Year's Day bowls. SMU, Virginia in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. I'm guessing that's played at Fenway Park. I'm guessing in Boston. I don't know. SMU 8-4, Virginia 6-6. SMU, I believe, lost the last 4 in a row.
Wow.
After starting off 8-0, and it was completely falling apart at the end. And Virginia here is a 2-point favorite, and I like Virginia. I don't know what happened with SMU. I know at the end of the season they lost their coach to TCU, but I just think I don't know. They have a high scoring offense, or should have one. That kind of fell apart at the end with Tanner Mordecai and all them. But again, give me Virginia to cover 2 here.
Yeah, SMU. We thought at the beginning, and even up until about midway point, until they started losing some games, that it was going to be Cincinnati and SMU, fighting for that championship there. And you kind of had the feeling if there was a team that was going to knock off Cincinnati, it would be SMU.
That's what it looked like.
But then that turned out to be, Houston.
I think Memphis beat SMU, and then they lost the last 3 in a row because they lost to Houston, they lost to Memphis, they lost to Cincinnati.
So I'm just looking at the schedule here. They lost to UNC and Wake Forest. Those were games 3 and 4. And then we still kind of had the thought, actually, sorry, that was Virginia's schedule.
I was going to say,
that was
Virginia's schedule.
That was Virginia's. They won all the way up to Houston, lost to Houston, which I thought they would win. And then they lost to Memphis. They beat UCF, and then lost to Cincinnati and Tulsa.
Yeah.
We were saying pencil in November 20th whenever SMU goes up to Cincy, and we thought that they would be the best shot, and then they lose that game 48-14.
Right.
But before that, they beat Abilene Christian 56-9. They beat North Texas. I just lost it. They beat North Texas 35-12. Louisiana Tech 39-37. And then you kind of see they beat TCU 42-34. South Florida 41-17. Navy 31-24. Tulane 55-26. And then their loss comes. Yeah. And then they just crumble from there. 4 of the last 5.
Yep.
It just kind of blew my mind. So I don't really have a whole lot of faith in them. Virginia hasn't been that much better. They've lost their last 4 in a row after beating Georgia Tech on October 23rd. So really it's just like which team shows up for each of these. So I really don't know. What did you say the spread was on this?
Virginia's a 2-point favorite.
Virginia, 2-point favorite. I'm gonna just stick with the favorite on it.
Okay.
And it's being played where? Massachusetts.
I'm guessing it's at Boston Red Sox Field.
It's at Fenway Park. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next one, Maryland, Virginia Tech. Both teams 6-6. Maryland is a 1-point favorite. New era Pinstripe Bowl. I'm assuming this is at Yankee Stadium. The Pinstripe Bowl.
It normally is. Yes.
So Maryland a 1-point favorite here. Man, this is a complete toss-up, and literally that is, I'm just going to take a pick here, and I'm going to take Maryland. So
yeah, I'm trying to remember if Virginia Tech fired Justin Fuentes.
Yeah, he was fired.
Okay. Man, I don't know. I really don't know on this one.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, or just look and see Tua, or not Tua, Tualia. Has thrown for 3,595 yards, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So he's had a pretty decent year. Is it Braxton Burmeister for Virginia Tech has thrown for 1,960 yards, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So the turnover ratio for him is a lot better than for little Tua, I would say. But it's really a toss-up in this one. It's literally a pick 'em at -1. So I will take... Where's it at? Yankee Stadium?
Yeah.
Just give me Maryland. Just to make it interesting, I'll take Maryland.
All right. Got a lot of games left to go, so let's try to get through.
Sure.
Okay. Clemson and Iowa State, an even pick here in the Cheez-It Bowl. Clemson in the last few games started to put it together. They are starting to look a little bit like old Clemson. Clemson. And because of that, Iowa State, who everyone kind of thought was going to be competing for the Big 12 this year, and really for them, 7-5 is a disappointing season. It really is. Clemson's sitting there at 9-3 and an even pick. I like Clemson in this game.
Yeah,
I really do. I think Clemson comes out with a win.
Yeah, and really, do you know what the word on Brock Purdy is?
I don't. At this point, I don't think it matters.
It may not. But he's kind of the team kind of goes as he goes.
Yeah.
I don't see anything here, so I'm just going to assume he's playing in the game. Clemson won their last 5 games and pretty convincingly. Yep. It was against FSU, Florida State, Louisville, Connecticut, and Wake Forest, and then South Carolina. So not really a tough schedule there. Had that been the first part of their season, they would have been ranked in the top 4, winning those. Not that they were great wins or anything. And then Iowa State has just been up and down the last 5 weeks. Lost to West Virginia. They beat Texas 30-7 on Texas's 6-game skid. They lost to Texas Tech, lost to OU, and then they beat TCU 48-14. I'm going to take Clemson.
Okay.
Since they're kind of getting better, just for the things you said.
All right, last one on the 29th. Oregon and Oklahoma in the Valero Alamo Bowl. Both teams won 10 games this year. Of course, Oregon getting smashed twice by Utah.
Yeah.
Now they lose Cristobal. Just a lot of changes there, but there's changes at Oklahoma as well.
There's been a lot of opt-outs too.
Right, but I will say this. Having been down at Norman on campus recently, I will tell you that, 1, Caleb Williams is playing in this game, and number 2, these guys who are playing, yes, they've had several opt-outs, but these guys are just completely stoked and excited about getting to play for Bob Stoops.
Yeah.
And the mentality that he brings, kind of that old school, get them fired up. He gets you motivated.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma's bringing back their old strength coach,
Schmidt.
I mean, that guy.
Schmidt.
The stories I've heard from former players about how that guy runs things. Whoa! I mean, that
guy
kind of puts some fear in you the way he runs things.
He's like a drill instructor.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is and he's kind of like, I had a coach in high school that was just like him, who just, you did not want to disappoint because you knew it was going to be hell for you.
Well, I read a former player who said on his recruiting trip to OU, he shows up and he's in jeans, got his nice shoes on, got his Letterman jacket, he's got his swag ready for the game, and Smitty says, "Get down there and show me what you got," and made him bench press 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And all of his and he's there just for a trip, and they put him in there doing bench press, wanting to see what he's got, squats, and that player said he committed that day. He's like, he was impressed at how intensive that guy is. So
even after Jason White had been in the program for a while, he said, I don't care how many accolades you have.
Yeah.
When you come into this room, you're all the same person to me.
Yeah.
And that's somebody I'm trying to mold into becoming a better player. And they had gotten extremely soft under Benny Wiley. And so that was one place where I really hoped that they would kind of make a change. I wasn't wishing for the entire staff to turn over, but strength and conditioning was one that kind of had gotten to more of like a CrossFit feel rather than maxing out your heavy weight and becoming a mentally tough person. I'm ready to get back to that.
Well, I mean, between that and what Brent Venables said recently in his one-on-one interview about, bringing back physicality to this team, because they had been soft. Like they didn't know how to hit.
They turned into a finesse team that was just trying to look good.
They're going to get back to, I really believe, give them 2 to 3 years, and that defense is going to just be scary. Like, offenses aren't going to want to play against them. They're going to be that physical.
Right. So we did lose Jaden Hazelwood transfers to Arkansas. We had transfers all along the defensive line, but we've still got Jalen Redmond, who was a 5-star kid coming out of high school. Defensive line was the one place that I thought they could take some hits. Yes, Perrion Winfrey and their 2 best pass rushers, Isaiah Thomas and Nick Benito, will not play in the game. But behind them, they still have some young players that they were starting. Defensive line was the one position that they really started to develop and to really start to recruit really well. You've got Theo Weiss, who just pulled his name out of the transfer portal. He's going to stay at OU. They still have Marvin Mims. They still have who Marvin Mims blew up as a true freshman. And then they still have Mario Williams. So they still have guys there. Mike Woods is going to finish out. I believe he will. I do know that he kind of made an announcement that he thanked the fans and the program and everything, but he didn't actually say I'm opting out. So with all that said, I'm taking Oklahoma in this.
I am too.
Who's favored by what?
Oklahoma's a 4.5-point favorite. I like them in this.
I just think as far as who's calling the game, they got everything. That was the thing with Lincoln Riley leaving. It was so sudden and abrupt, but within that next week, they already had Bob Stoops on staff.
That day he was coaching. The day Lincoln Riley said I'm leaving, Bob Stoops
he was
jumped
out
in.
recruiting.
He was out recruiting. He's had I think he's had Barry Switzer helping him out with recruits. I mean, they haven't really missed a step. They went out and got Venables. Venables gets Lebby from
Jeff Lebby.
Yeah, Jeff Lebby from Ole Miss as offensive coordinator. I mean, they I just think that everything happened the right way in a quick time for OU. And now they are not going to be an 11-win team next year. They're not. They're going to be 9 or 10 wins. I think they can be 9 or 10 wins. But I'm telling you what, if the fan base at OU can be patient and give Venables a couple years, please don't come out expecting a national championship next year.
I don't think anybody does.
It's or playoffs. Like you got to give him a chance.
Yeah. From one thing I've seen on social media, is a lot of fans are really humbled right now. I mean, yes, we still talk trash to our rivals and.
Well, they're still in better shape than Texas.
Right. And Texas just signed a heck of a class, but where's the trophy for that?
And that doesn't matter because Texas signs five-star recruits every single year, and they never develop them. They never turn into anything. They've got Quinn Ewers now, who transferred from Ohio State. He's chasing money. That's all he cares about. I don't think the kid's going to amount to much at all because he's not focused. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Spencer Rattler in a way with the mentality and the ego, and I don't think he's going to amount to much. Casey Thompson in the transfer portal now.
So here's the thing: they're playing in the Alamo Bowl. It's not that far. It's like a 6-hour drive, I think, maybe 5. I mean, they will likely fly, but anyway, it's a lot further for Oregon. Oregon has more kind of up in the air right now, as far as who's coaching. They don't even have a head coach right now.
Right.
So,
Lanning, they do.
Right, but
as far as who's coaching the game,
Lanning is going to coach in the semifinals.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I guarantee
He's going back and forth right now. He has to, because he can't just neglect Oregon. He's got to be recruiting. He's got to get a staff together, and he can't wait till after the semifinals or national championship to do that. It's way too late. I mean, all these coaches, even though they coach, I mean, when they're not in practice at Georgia, he is on the phone. He's making calls. He's visiting. I guarantee he's out recruiting for Oregon right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to. He has to do it.
And Kayvon Thibodeau has opted out. I'm sure they've had other opt-outs along their team.
Yeah.
But as far as the guys that are staying, I think they have enough talented guys who, I mean, their entire offensive line is staying intact. Their running backs are not making any kind of decision till after the game. And so I think everybody who hasn't made a decision up to this point is your roster going forward to the bowl game. And with Theo Weiss coming back, Marvin Mims, all these guys, the skill position guys, you got to think Caleb Williams is probably coming back. I mean, just last night, got tweets coming out saying Levy and Caleb Williams were eating dinner together.
I'd be absolutely shocked if Caleb Williams gets into transfer portal at this point.
Right.
I would be shocked.
I think really he stays. I think he sees the moves that they made are big boss moves in college football.
All you have to do is look at what Ole Miss did this year in offense.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams is like, corral, could be me. I'm going to be a Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
He needs to stay where he's at.
Levy loves running the ball, so he could even put him into that system.
Yes.
Unlike Lincoln Riley doing that this year.
Yeah.
Later on in the season.
So we both have OU.
I'm taking OU.
All right.
All that to say, taking OU.
Thursday, December 30th, North Carolina, South Carolina, Duke's Mayo. I guess it stands for mayonnaise. Both teams 6-6. North Carolina is a 9-point favorite.
Mayo Bowl.
Yeah, the Mayo Bowl. North Carolina is a 9-point favorite here. North Carolina's going to win the game, and I'm going to take them to cover the 9. However, I think the future is bright at South Carolina. Speaking of Spencer Rattler, him and Austin Stogner both now going to South Carolina. So they've shored up the quarterback, because no matter what you think of Spencer Rattler, he is better than what they had there. And, I saw online a lot of people, especially OU people, giving Rattler a bunch of grief about, he couldn't handle the Big 12. He's never going to be able to handle the SEC. Listen, all I'm going to say is this. Trevor Knight was okay at Oklahoma, but he wasn't great.
Yeah.
He was never great. He transferred as a grad transfer and went to Texas A&M, and he had one heck of a year.
He played really well.
He played really good. So I don't think you can say, well, you can't play against SEC defenses. I think that's a load of crap.
Yeah.
This is a second chance for Rattler to go play at South Carolina, play in the East, and I think he's going to play really well.
And he could have come out this year and just decided, I'm putting my name in the transfer portal now. Yeah. I'm going to go and dog, OU. He didn't do that. It showed some maturity, and I think that a fresh start is something that could benefit both him and OU.
Right.
They've found Caleb Williams as their guy, and then Spencer Rattler going to Shane Beamer. And there was some kind of rumors that Austin Stogner didn't really get along with the coaches that he had. I don't know how true that is. So that's just speculation and kind of sources,
Well, either way, they both are now having a good second chance.
Right.
And they're landing in a right spot.
And they go together. So. They're very familiar with one another. Stogner was kind of Rattler's safety blanket there at Oklahoma until Stogner went down with the injury. So Shane Beamer he's going to turn into one heck of a coach.
I should have asked.
Watch out.
I should have asked. I didn't look it up. Maybe is Hal playing in this game?
Hal is playing.
Okay, then I got North Carolina.
He came out and said came out and said it wasn't really I never even really thought of it was an option to opt out. So he's playing. I'm taking North Carolina.
Absolutely.
Although next year I do think. I think South Carolina will be, and this is a fun little border war here.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun game to watch. But I think next year South Carolina really starts to kind of take hold of their division a little bit.
I think they'll be competitive in the East. I really do. Yeah. Give them a couple years, and I think they're on the right path.
I don't know that I definitely.
I'm not saying they're going to win the SEC East.
They're not going to supplant Georgia, but they're at least going to be competitive in more games than they were this year.
Right. Okay, Tennessee, Purdue in the Music City Bowl, Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. Tennessee is a 4.5-point favorite. Tennessee 7-5, Purdue 8-4. Purdue has one heck of an passing offense. They can throw the ball all over the place. Mm-hmm. But Tennessee, man, they hung with Alabama. They hung with all these tough teams this year.
Hung with Alabama till the end of the game.
Until the last
Don't look at that score and
minutes.
think that Alabama just blew them out the entire game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Up until the last 9 minutes, it was a tight game.
Yeah.
That being said, sorry, kids out there it threw me off. That being said,
we got kids in the studio.
Tennessee, I think, is on the right path as well. Heupel's first year, they were really impressive after being really a dumpster fire for about the past decade in the SEC East. And they're on the right path. Purdue can throw the ball, but Tennessee, I like their defense. The biggest thing, and I've said this all year long with Tennessee, is it comes down to who plays at quarterback. If Hooker plays, Tennessee wins and Tennessee covers. If they end up, for some reason, another, whether Hooker gets hurt or whatever, if they have to go to Milton, there's no way. I would take Purdue all day long.
Yeah.
So it really depends on who the quarterback is at Tennessee. I'm going to assume that Hooker is playing, so I'm going to take Tennessee to cover the points and win this one.
Yeah, Hooker threw for 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception against Alabama. So, man, I'm just wondering if... Because how many yards did Purdue throw against Ohio State? 390 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. But Tennessee was able to really hold Bryce Young and Alabama for a while in check for most of that game. And I just, to me, I don't know. I think Tennessee is more balanced on both sides of the ball where Purdue is not.
Yeah, Bryce Young, he ended the game with 371 yards, 2 touchdowns. But towards the end is when Alabama really started to kind of pull away there. Man, I'm going to take Purdue just because I think that they can give you some trouble. Okay. They can give you a lot of trouble. They're the home team in this. And where's it being played?
Music City Bowl. I'm guessing that's in Nashville.
That's in Tennessee, man.
Yep. So it's kind of like a home game for Tennessee. A little bit.
It's definitely a home game. For
Although
them.
that's not too far to go for Purdue either.
Yeah.
In Indiana. So.
Man, this. I'm gonna keep it interesting. I'll take Purdue.
Okay. Pitt against Michigan State in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Michigan State
first.
This is still Thursday, December 30th.
Okay, Oregon, Oklahoma was our first ranked versus ranked, good against good matchup.
And here we have 12 Pitt against 10 Michigan State. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Michigan State is a 2.5-point favorite. Pitt is Kenneth Walker III playing? This is one where you got to know who's playing. Is Kenny Pickett playing? Is Kenneth Walker III playing? Because if those guys are opting out, it really changes everything here. Pitt finished the season 11-2, Michigan State 10-2.
Walker won't play in Peach Bowl.
I'm taking Pitt. Give me Pitt.
Well, let's see if Kenny Pickett, what he's doing.
I'd be surprised if Pickett opted out. I know he's going to the NFL.
Won't play in Peach Bowl.
Pickett's not playing either?
Nope. It was announced yesterday.
Okay, I got Michigan State. I mean, okay, this game not even really that interesting with those two out.
Yeah, you take the best player off of each one of those teams. Man,
I got to take Michigan State.
So you got to throw stats out, and if there was a game that Pickett's backup came in and played well, or what the other running backs were able to do for Michigan State. Who are you taking?
I am taking Michigan State.
Yeah, I'll take them as a
I feel
favorite.
like Pitt falls completely apart without Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, and Michigan State, well...
They've got guys that can come in and step up at running back.
Yeah.
So
running back's easier to replace than... I mean, granted, nobody replaces Kenneth Walker. I'm not saying that. But as far as a game plan, it's easier to game plan around having to replace a running back than a quarterback.
Yep. So you got Michigan State.
I'm taking Michigan State.
Wisconsin, Arizona State, both teams 8-4. This is the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Wisconsin is a 7-point favorite, and I just think Arizona State was one of those teams that was ranked at times and then not, and you thought they were going to compete for the Pac-12, but really there was a lot of holes there. There was, I think Arizona State beat like Utah earlier in the year, which was surprising. It was kind of like the one game with Cam Rising where they didn't play well. And so But Wisconsin, I think, is just a better football team. Although I thought that in the last game of the season in Wisconsin, all they had to do was win the game. They were in the Big Ten championship and they lost to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty. You know what? I'm changing my pick. I was going to take Wisconsin to cover the 7. I still think Wisconsin wins the game, but I don't think they cover 7 points. I think this one stays close. Arizona State plays good defense. I like Arizona State in the points.
Jaden Daniels declares he's coming back for the 2022 season. He's a guy that I could see, and please don't think this has anything to do with the black quarterback thing, but I do think he could benefit from in the NFL switching positions. Mm-hmm. He's 6'3", 175 pounds. The dude can run. I mean, he's a phenomenal runner. I think you've seen in certain situations where, heck, even Tim Tebow switched to tight end.
Terrell Pryor is a great example of a quarterback who went and played wide receiver in the NFL, and it benefited him by switching.
Right. Yeah. So go ahead, go to the combine, go to do your pro day as a quarterback, see what teams say about you. But the dude just is such a good runner. It would be a waste to see his talent not be taken because maybe his arm wasn't on par with, he's still a good thrower, but let's be honest, he's not on par with those top quarterbacks that are going to be taken at the quarterback position.
Yep.
So I am going to take Arizona State.
Okay. Let's take a break, and then when we come back, we're getting into New Year's Eve, not the semifinals, and then we got the New Year's Day bowls and stuff like that. We'll pick those right after this. All right, let's get to the games on New Year's Eve that are not including the semifinal. There's 3 of them in addition to the semifinals that day. We're going to do quick picks for these games real quick. Yeah. Wake Forest, Texas A&M. Wake Forest 10-3, Texas A&M 8-4. This is a tax slayer Gator Bowl. Texas A&M is a 4.5-point favorite, but their quarterback Calzada transferring. Next up, I guess. Yeah. Wake Forest, they've had some coaches leave and things like that. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, I think Wake Forest is a better team, high profile. Their quarterback's thrown 36 touchdowns this season. I like Wake Forest to pull out the win. They are the underdog. I will take Wake Forest.
Yeah, I'm going to take I did want to see if Spiller declared for the NFL draft. So I doubt he's playing in this game. Give me Wake Forest.
Okay. Washington State against Miami. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Okay. Both teams 7-5. Miami.
Why not just Frosted Flakes Bowl?
I know. I don't get it. Miami is a 2.5-point favorite here. I like Washington State to win this game.
Yeah, Miami just wasn't. But although they won their last 4 out of 5.
They played well. Manny Diaz is fired. Cristobal's going to be the coach, but he's not coaching this game. So, changes everywhere. But Washington State lost their coach in the middle of the season to the whole, he wouldn't get vaccinated deal. But they went on to win after that. They played really well. Yeah. To me, Washington State's a better team. So I like Washington State.
Yeah, this is at the famous Sun Bowl, so both teams have to travel. Give me Miami. I'll just take the favorite.
Okay, next one, Central Michigan, Boise State. Central Michigan's 8-4. Boise State 7-5. Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. Boise State is an 8-point favorite. Boise State, I think, is the better team here. I like Boise State. However, 8 points to me feels too much. I think Central Michigan is able to hold it within 8, so I will take Central Michigan.
Yeah, both teams are 4-1 in their last 5. I would give the edge as far as competition to Boise State, but bowl game, I'm going to take Central Michigan to keep it within 8.
Okay. Let's move on to New Year's Day. Some pretty good slate of games. There's 5 games here. Try not to talk too long. I know this is getting long, so we'll get through these. Penn State against Arkansas in the Outback Bowl. Penn State, a 2.5-point favorite. Penn State, to me, the last 2 years, I know last year was a COVID year, but they lost like 5 in a row at the end. This year, they weren't near as good as what we thought. And coming out of the COVID year, it was a little bit more normal this year, and they still struggled. And I think James Franklin just kind of coached himself out of any chance of coaching anywhere else because his name was thrown out there for
every job.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, nothing. So I'm not sold on Penn State. I think what Pittman's been doing at Arkansas has been really impressive. I think Arkansas gets the bowl win here. Yeah. So being the underdog, it's easy pick for me. I'll take Arkansas.
I'm taking Arkansas as well.
Oklahoma State against Notre Dame. This is 9-5 in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Notre Dame is a 2-point favorite here. Notre Dame, since the loss to Cincinnati, has just been playing really, really good. Oklahoma State, when they played, they beat Oklahoma. Then they go on to play Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. And, I mean, what stood out to me most about that game is 3 different occasions Oklahoma State has it 1st and goal on like the 1 and couldn't get in the end zone.
Yeah.
They just score one of those and they win the game.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's shocking. You have with the opt-outs and the coaching changes, Jim Knowles left to go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
There's changes at Oklahoma State.
I think I saw a stat. Oklahoma State had the ball for 15 plays, 17 plays within the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
And got 1 touchdown out of it.
In the
entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing here, though, is with Brian Kelly leaving to go to LSU, Marcus Freeman takes over. Marcus Freeman is a good coach. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a really good coach. But I don't think Notre Dame stays on the roll they were on without Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, he's done it everywhere he's been. He did it at Cincinnati, he did it at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They are losing something without him. You do lose Knowles as defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, but Mike Gundy's still there. Mike Gundy's still the glue of this team. He can still hold things together. And I like Oklahoma State to rebound after the loss in the Big 12 championship game. I like Oklahoma State to go out and win this game, so I'll take Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I wanted to see if Knowles was going back to coach in that game. Jim Knowles will not coach in Fiesta Bowl. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I like Oklahoma State.
Okay. Iowa and Kentucky in the VRBO, whatever, how you say that, Citrus Bowl. Kentucky is a 3-point favorite here, and Iowa has no offense. Iowa's terrible. They got blown out in the Big Ten championship game, as everybody knew they would. It was such a snooze fest of a game.
Yeah.
It was not even worth watching. Iowa they have good defense, but, man, they have nothing on offense. And Kirk Ferentz has got to figure that out. He's got to get something going on offense at Iowa. Kentucky is just a much better team. To me, I'm surprised that Mark Stoops wasn't. I'm surprised he's still at Kentucky. I'm surprised somebody else didn't go pick him up.
He came out in a press conference and kind of pledged his loyalty to Kentucky and just said, we don't run Stoops boys. We're loyal.
Yeah, right.
And so I think when he did that, it kind of injected a little bit more just kind of positivity and energy into that program. Wan'Dale Robinson has already rushed for over 1,000 yards this year. And as far as wide receiver, if I can get back to it, Tyler Goodson. Wan'Dale Robinson has caught the ball over 1,164 yards. And then Goodson for Iowa's rushed for 1,151 yards. I think Kentucky has the better of the quarterback, so I'm taking Kentucky.
Okay.
And better, I wouldn't say better defense. Both have pretty salty defenses.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, let's move on to the next one. New Year's Day Bowl, Utah against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State is a 6.5-point favorite. You guys know, if you've been watching the channel, you know I'm the Ohio State fan. Love Ohio State, love the Buckeyes, but I'm telling you, what I've seen out of Utah at the end of the year, they are for real.
Yeah.
I really hate to say this, but Utah is going to win the game outright. I really do believe that. Especially, how Ohio State came out and played against Michigan was really disappointing. And Utah is just absolutely, they're hitting on all cylinders. As far as I know, they don't have anybody sitting out, as far as I know. So Ohio State is going to have some guys sit out. So Utah with the upset. Okay. I put money on the money line with Utah.
Buckeye fans coming at Mike for being a fake fan in 3, 2, 1, right down there.
The knives are out. They want to slit my throat. I mean, I get it, but I'm not a homer. Okay, yeah. I'm not. Yeah. I call it as I see it. Utah right now is the better team. They're playing better. Ohio State, I thought, had fixed a lot of their problems because at the beginning of the year, offensive line wasn't playing great. Defense wasn't playing great. They made some changes. They played better, but they got to that Michigan game and they really got exposed.
Yeah, and with all the rumors about Ryan Day leaving for Chicago, hopefully some of that's squashed since he's literally hiring staff.
And you got to. Here's the other thing too. Ohio State. If you're not an Ohio State fan, Ohio State's one of those schools where it's like Oklahoma. If you're not in the playoffs, and it's a bust.
Yeah.
If you're not playing for a national championship, it's a bust. I mean, it's a bust of a season.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you some of those players feel like that. The Rose Bowl to Ohio State does not mean what it used to. For Utah, it means everything.
Right.
This is as good as a national championship.
And Ohio State was kind of called out this year. It may have been by Michigan, which, I mean, take that for whatever you want. But, somebody said Ohio State has become kind of a finesse team. Kind of what we saw Oklahoma starting to turn into. I think Utah is a lot more physically tough than Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Now, Ohio State has the ability to throw the ball all over Utah and that defense. Will they do it? I'm not sure. But what was the spread on that? 6.5?
Yeah. Ohio State 6.5.
Man,
feels
I hate to go against Utah because Utah's kind of slowly becoming one of my more favorite teams.
Hey, Utah's becoming the powerhouse of the Pac-12.
Yeah,
they really are. I mean, year in,
their
year out.
fan base. I say it every week we pick a Utah game. Yeah. I'm so jealous at that fan base. They are
loud
just
and
rocking every single year.
Absolutely.
And Ohio State will travel really well to the Rose Bowl.
65-70% of the Rose Bowl will be Ohio State fans. It will be like those a home Utah game for
fans,
Ohio State.
That smaller number of Utah fans that are there, they're going to get just as loud.
Yeah.
I mean, they are rabid.
Both teams are going to be wearing red, so you won't know who's who.
Right. Yeah, just by the noise. So, but man, I could see Ohio State winning by 7 to 14 points here. And then I could see Utah taking it really close and just hanging with them. I'm going to take Ohio State. I think a 7-point win, I could definitely see that.
Okay. Last New Year's Day game, Baylor, Ole Miss, 7-8 in the All-State Sugar Bowl. Baylor 11-2, Ole Miss 10-2, and it is even pick. It is an absolute even pick here. I feel like Ole Miss losing Levy, and Aranda's still there. Baylor's more of a complete team going into this game where Ole Miss is missing some pieces. And as an even pick, I'm taking Baylor.
Well, but Lane Kiffin, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. That's still Lane Kiffin's offense.
Yeah.
Levy was just so good at kind of diagnosing the defense and calling plays. And he does bring just very, very good, offensive mind to Oklahoma. But Lane Kiffin still knows how to call a game. He's done it for years and years. But then you've got Baylor there, which with Dave Aranda, his name was thrown all over the place for coaching searches. Lane Kiffin, his name was thrown all over for coaching searches. So both teams probably thought, we could have a different head coach next year at different times. So Baylor, I think, is the tougher team. I think Dave Aranda is better at getting his team to be more
is Matt
more
Corral
disciplined.
Playing?
I'm not sure. I would not think so because he's at the top of the list.
That would be another reason why I would take Baylor. If Matt Corral and then you lose offensive coordinator, I know it's Lane Kiffin's system, and maybe they have some guy stepping up who we don't know about yet. I mean, Corral was hurt a couple earlier this year, and they did have to have a backup in at times. But I think their backup was a true freshman at quarterback.
So Matt Corral pens goodbye to Ole Miss ahead of final home game. But I don't know. I mean, he's headed for the NFL, but I don't know. I don't see anything where it says, I would imagine he's probably not going to play in the bowl game. I'm not saying that for a fact. I'm just speculating.
Well, their next up was a true freshman.
Yeah.
So
I'll take Baylor. I just think they're the more disciplined team. It is a great matchup, but I just think that Baylor's more physically imposing, and their defense is just really good. I'd be interested if that Doyle kid on Baylor's defense, their best defender, I'm interested to see if he plays.
Okay. All right, last game, LSU, Kansas State in the TaxAct Texas Bowl. Kansas State 2.5-point favorite. Ed Orgeron's last game to coach at LSU. I don't think he's going to be coaching. I think he's just staying on the sidelines.
He's been checked out for a while.
He's checked out, yeah. But I feel like, I'm sure LSU's got teams or players that are opting out.
Yeah.
And, I was going to take LSU, but I think I'm with you. I think Kansas State in this one. They're 2.5-point favorite.
is Max Johnson?
He's transferring.
Is he transferring?
He's in the portal.
Okay.
Yep.
Man, that 2019 class is just, if he was he from that class?
I don't remember.
But there's an amazing amount of quarterbacks that jumped into the portal. But anyway, I've got Kansas State. I just think they're better coached. I mean, there's more certainty there with their coaching staff. Chris Kleiman came from North Dakota State, and he just gets his teams ready for games. And especially with a month or 3 weeks, however long they've been going without a game, I think they're more disciplined than, and then there's more shakeup with LSU. What's going to happen with them? So I got Kansas State.
Okay, that's it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Hit that like button. Always leave your comment. Check us out on social media. And we will be back next week for our picks, where we do in-depth analysis of the semifinal games, and we'll make our picks there.
Those will be a lot more.
Yes,
a lot more thought into. Not longer, because this was a lot of games.
Yeah.
But we will give you some pretty in-depth stuff, and we'll research all the players that are in or out.
And then the following Monday, we'll have our picks for the national championship game. So,
and rumors on whether or not some of those position coaches are going elsewhere. So, because I know that there's at least one school that is looking at a coach from one of those teams.
Well, there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then.
Yep.
So we'll break that all down. Everything else that's new that's happened, but that will be in 2 weeks. So. Anyway, thank you again. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.